Hello Internet, this is LordMaddog, and today we're working on Axiom's Box. Yes, my video game that I have been making for some time now. Okay, so last time I did an update, we were working on level 10. Level 10, yes, yeah, level 10. And if you remember level 10, it was all about the blink dash and getting to phase and unlocking phase. And now I'm actually working on level 11. I've already finished level 11, and I just wanted to show it to you. So let's go ahead and come on over here to where you will spot to get to level 11. You got to use this jump point, and then I'll show it to you because I actually really enjoy level 11. Yep. So jump here, and boom. And baha, this is level 11. Let's first talk about the big thing, the black hole. Check that out. If you get hit by the shockwave, it spawns an enemy. And there's not really much to say other than wow, right? I really like the... I'll have to talk about the enemies too, but I really like the... I keep falling off because normally you fall off the platform, you fall all the way down, but right now I have a little place for us to look at it, and I've spawned too many enemies because I was just standing still looking at it. And I got hit by the shockwave. Let's come on over here. Let's leave those guys a little bit farther behind. You see here, you can see as the shockwave goes out, it sends out, stop you stupid little things! Go away! See, the enemies are very annoying. I got hit again, there's going to be another one spawning. This is the problem when you talk about things, is because everything's designed so you have to move fast. Anyway, so you see here, as the shockwave goes out, it puts out little particles that slowly degrade all the way back in. Yeah, it makes a really neat effect. The black hole itself puts off a red glow, so it's got a little thing there. And if you actually get too close to the black hole, it will suck you in. And the whole object of this level is, well, it's all there is to get to the whole other side. And it's about medium difficulty. You can cheese it because now you have unlocked I'll say the blink dash. Blink dash makes it so you can literally almost completely skip the entire level to an extent, but then you're going to have a lot of problems with energy, and if you don't have enough energy, you're going to end up being knocked all the way back down, killed, and get knocked back down by all the enemy that we have here. So let's go ahead and get closer to the... See, yeah, you can skip the entire thing here. I just got sucked into the black hole. Oh, it actually... Wow, I survived that! Here, let's go ahead and get sucked in again. Let's get closer to where... See, as it sucks you in... Woo, it kills you if you actually get hit in the middle of it. Yeah. Now, that black hole does not become active until you are at the very... up there, until you actually use the jump pad to get up there, so you don't have to worry about that as much. Because if the black hole was active the whole time, the black hole will also deactivate when you use the next jump pad, because the black hole is a little bit performance heavy, and it's for reasons it's kind of easy to understand why it would be. I did not do that right. Jump that right. And, so let's go ahead and actually look at the black hole. It is honestly a little bit more art. What's that? Oh yeah, that's because I went through something. Okay, it's a little bit more art heavy than it is blueprint heavy, because well, obviously it's very, very heavy duty graphics. So let's go ahead and look at it. This is the blueprint for it. This is the viewport. Let's look right here. When you first start off, you've got some elements to it. Of course, you got the black hole itself. I went through a couple different phases of trying to make it a mesh or a particle effect. I ended up settling with it actually being a pure particle effect because I think that was less performance heavy and it seemed to work a tad bit better. All right, and then inside it you have this sphere. This is your activation sphere. Once you collision sphere on collision, so you construct. Oh, jitter about it. That's also something used later. Let's go by event draft. On component begin overlap, that's what actually activates the damage and the radio pull force. And so it actually says damage active. So if you look over here, right here, this is the apply radio damage, the fall off of when you're getting closer to the black hole and how much damage it's going to do. Its base damage is 100. Its min damage is 1. So once you're getting so close, you can get 100 damage, and then the inner radius is 200. The damage outer radius is 2,000. So your damage fall off rate is 2. So at a farther range, it does a lot less damage. But the faster you get closer, then boom, you get killed almost instantly. Which actually wasn't necessary, because it pulls you in so fast that you just you're dead anyway. I thought it was a nice thing to go with the whole. You can, like, because of the damage fall off radius, you've seen I did a loop around it. I shot all around it and came back out the other side. So that makes that possible. Okay, now back to the viewport. We have your radio fall off force. Of course, the actual black hole has its sound here. So if you go ahead and here, we can listen to the sound of the black hole. Just quietly here, I'll stand off on the side so we don't have to worry about enemies. You listen to that. It is actually NASA's sound for the black hole, but it's been edited through pitch modulation and a few other things, a meta sound in game. So you can hear that there. I can't shut this one down here. So yeah. The black hole has its nice little thrum, the same sound that kind of, it's been an edited sound, but sort of the sound that NASA used, put out a couple months back. All right, and then we have the shockwave. This is basically this is actually a mesh itself, and it expands out. It's got a collision on the outside of it. If we come in and zoom in here. It's got a collision on the outside of it, so you can jump it, and it does have this little wave on inside, so you can actually hit this part right here and still be fine without actually getting hit by it. And you can see its collision value is to overlap all. See, it's a world static. Actually, it's probably be a world dynamic, but it doesn't matter. It don't hurt too much changing it. Actually, I'm not. That's probably a world trigger, because if otherwise it might get in the way of. Well, it doesn't matter if you get hit by that, it's fine. I'm just going to leave that as, I don't want to mess with it right now, because then if I'm changing something, I might end up breaking something. It's sometimes when you do stuff like this, it is a little bit delicate. Okay? Then your shockwave sound, they go boom. And then you've got particle effects that come off of it when it comes out. And I will show you the particle effects for both. Let's go to my particles. Doo-doo-doot. Oh, that's Gideon particles. Yes, I would very much suggest that you download, if you ever do anything with Unreal Engine, download at least 3 or 4 of the NPCs, the free Paragon Paragon characters. They've got really, really good quality particle effects for all of their stuff. And you can mix and match their particle effects and learn a lot from just going through that. Like, my black hole is basically made of decent amounts of Gideon's stuff, and I've made them and changed them to be my own, but it really helped. The textures, I'm not really good with textures on that stuff, so it really helped me actually going to their texture for Gideon's black hole. So this is the black hole. It is several pieces of mesh stuck together, mesh renders here, these things here. And they're all just one consistent. And like I said, it's part of Gideon stuff, but I actually went out and I used a third person program to flip and change the models and everything so they work for my needs. And I edited the mesh a good bit. And so this is the particle effect, and I have it set to local here. Which, oh wait, see if I can figure out where that's at. Yeah, here, local space, which allows you to scale it as needed. So right now, default, it's actually pretty small, but at local space, I scaled it up 10 times in the actual black hole blueprint over here. Yes, if you check here, my Niagara effect is actually scaled up by 15 times. Ah, yes. So that's something to note, that you can scale Niagara particle effects. Something I had a big trouble with is people were like, you can't scale Niagara particle effects. Yes, you can if you set the local space. The thing is, though, if you set the local space, you also have to worry if you have particle sprites that they'll be spread out a lot more. And I was having a bit of problem with that when it came to my shockwave. So I'll go ahead and show you the shockwave particle effect. Here, I have everything named pretty well, I think. I just gotta actually find it. you know, I just type shockwave. Oh, there it is. Nope, right there. And particle shockwaves. All right. So this is the shockwave effect. This one's a little bit more complicated than that one, but it's not too much. It's got the coronal noise force, which gives it some movement of its own. But the big thing here that makes it pull back here is the point attraction force. This which makes it pull all the way back into the black hole. That creates that really neat effect. So also because it's so wide, and because I have to scale it such the size, I actually have a very, very heavy duty spawn rate. I have 25,000 spawn rate, which is a lot of particles. But since they're spread out to a good distance and you can't see the ones on the opposite side, it's not too performance heavy. But this is definitely by far the level that has the most highest performance cost that all of my levels. And that's why everything gets hidden and not rendered unless you come all the way up here. So here's the, oops, I got hit by that thing. And then I got hit by that. And then I got pulled right through the So yeah, you just watch the particles go in, they suck back into the part, and then they slowly fade out as they disappear. And then boom, it happens again. And then once again, it gets sucked in. And then we'll talk about the enemy, the AI enemy here in a sec. Okay, so that's my particles. Let's go back into black hole and actually go back into my event graph. Now this is actually pretty simple when it comes to blueprints. It's just a little bit, okay, I'll just show it to you instead of trying to tell you the difficulty. Anyway, this is set on my event tick. I have it so if it's not active, it will not happen. So the event tick, there is no cost if it's not active. All right, and when it's active, then it does this, and it delays for 14 seconds, and then it activates the jitter, which is this here. When you'll watch the black hole jitter, it'll go whoop, 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 whoop. Here we go. So yeah, and I'll show you exactly how I did the jitter. It's really easy. And 15 seconds I have to wait here. And it should be around now, right? There it is. Boom. So it gives that effect like it's about ready to explode, and then it explodes. And that is done by doing a timeline. The timeline actually, it goes up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, from value of 1 to 0. And then this one has a value of 2, which I'm not exactly sure that actually affects anything. I just did it. I was trying to get it a little bit more effect. I think it have a slight effect. I'm not sure. But anyway, then I lerped it to set relative location, and I changed it on the X and the Y. So it's moving back and forth real fast. And then I scaled it. I also set relative scale, and I lerped it by the jitter, and it goes from 15 to 17. So it gets bigger and gets smaller, and it moves, and bigger and smaller, and it moves. So, and then it gets a little bit bigger at the very end, and then at that point it explodes. The delay of 0.9. It sends out the shockwave. It activates the shockwave sound effect. It activates the particles, and this shockwave here, it makes it visible. So because I have the actual mesh hidden until it actually explodes, and then it has a timeline, which is pretty much the same thing as the other one, except for it doesn't have any up or downs. It just goes from 0 to 1 over 5 seconds, which scales it to 100 times, which makes it go whoom out. And then after it goes out, set world scale, lerps it. It delays for 5 seconds because it's 5 seconds, and then it hides it again. And that's pretty much the whole shockwave. It really easy. No, actually, it's not the whole shockwave. My bad. Here, we got to go back down. We got to go down and actually look at the shockwave, because when it hits the player on begin overlap, then it actually does a little bit more. So I did a double thing here that it didn't actually need to do. I got player only if the only player collides with it, because I was having NPCs problems with NPCs constantly constantly get hit by it and spawning more NPCs, so you could end up getting like 50 NPCs because they all keep getting hit by the shockwave. So I made sure it was only equal to the player, but I actually needed to do it that way. I could have done it this way just by casting to the player, and that would have made it only happen if it was cast to the player. But I did a double take just to make sure. There's no real reason to do double if you have it cast to player. It is also the same as this. All right. Then once it casts to the player, I'm using his location and all of these little things on the ground. I've talked about these before. These are my enemy patrol points. These are basically where the NPCs can spawn and where the enemies can patrol point to. They have a random patrol point, so they can patrol around and walk around without the patrol points. But I also have them there so they actually can go to those. So I won't actually have NPCs randomly wandering off the map. Which nav mess actually fixes that, so I don't have that problem anyway. But I do like having the multiple nav mess. These are basically for the spawning. Okay, now we go back into the black hole. This gets all the actors of the class, which is there's a decent amount now. But this doesn't. It only takes like 0.005 milliseconds for it to calculate, even though there's like 500 of them in there. So it does, and it loops for each one, and it checks if they're the closest. And if they're closer than the one it just checked, it'll say if closer, get distance. If they're closer to, less than, if they're less than this distance of the current one, this is your current patrol point ref, then it'll set the patrol point ref, which will then, once again, this one can be, and it'll go through all of them. It'll find the absolute closest patrol point ref, and once it finds the closest patrol point ref, it'll do this sequence down here, which is apply 1 damage to the player, so the player knows he got hit, and then it'll delay 0.2 seconds. The reason why it does that is sometimes this can have just a tad bit. If you have a lower frame rate, you can have a tad bit overlate, and it doesn't really matter when the NPC spawns. So I went ahead and give it just a little bit of delay time. I didn't even need to do that. I could have had, like I said, 0.001, and I've been totally fine. But 0.2 is fine. 0.2 seconds is fine. And so then it'll spawn an NPC right there, and you've seen it do that multiple times. So there's no reason to go over it again. And then right here is my activation. This will be when the player uses the jump pad. It'll send this event invisible to the thing. Right now I have it set at event begin play because I've been testing it, but this will be removed and it will no longer be active in the play. It'll only be active when the player uses the jump pad for the first time. Well, actually anytime. Uses the jump pad anytime. I'm gonna have to make sure it works for anytime, because what's gonna happen is that the other jump pad's gonna turn it off. It'll have the exact opposite of this. It'll turn it to click, this be new heading, and this will be stop instead of active. So yeah, so it would be stop. Yeah, I'll just, yeah. You can stop the audio. You can stop the. Well, yeah, I'm not quite sure how to stop the particles. I'm gonna have a little bit research on that. How to stop particles. Pretty sure it's pretty easy. I just don't remember how to do it myself right now. So as you see, it turns all these things from not being hit. I could have just propagated down to the children, but some of these things aren't all inside the children, so I made it that they're visible. Now this sphere 01 is actually inside the portal, so you can't see back out. It's an inversed sphere. So once you go inside the portal here, it makes everything absolutely dark inside. Yep, that's what you see on the inside of the portal. Now the reason why it was not doing damage and is because I have it set to not activate. Right, I had it damaged. I spawned on the inside. I didn't actually go through the. You don't have to worry about that in the game. Let's not just tell you that. It will always do damage. I just wanted to show you this. Okay. Yeah, because if you spawn inside a collision box, like this sphere is, a collision box, it doesn't, if from the editor, you use the editor spawn inside something, it doesn't activate. And I don't have it so it's always active, because that's just a lot of performance heavens. So that's the inside sphere. Black hole. And the default scene route, that was the hide. I wanted to hide, make sure I hide absolutely everything. I should have had unhide everything, but it's okay. I should have had propagate to characters. Okay, and then obviously it'll activate your Niagara effect, which turns the ball on, and it'll actually activate the sound effect. This is the black hole sound effect. Sound cue black hole, and that's pretty much the black hole. It's nothing too heavy when it comes to this blueprints, but it is pretty heavy visually. So and so it took a decent amount to actually work and fix it up. I can show you the shapes that I use here. My models actually only use two custom shapes. The reverse, this is the reverse sphere. Basically the normals are just flipped on it, so it's backwards. Yep. And where is it at? This one. This is my shockwave tortoise. And if we show collision, I try to make oh, that's not simple collision. No, simple collision is what I'm after. No, complex collision. I try to make my collision in Maya, but for some reason I couldn't import it properly, so I had to manually go around and make boxes and just turn them at 45-degree angles all the way around to make it so this on the very rim so you can jump it. If I didn't do that and made it normal collision or complex collision, you would jump and only make it to about right here, and you would still hit every time, and that players would find that absolutely annoying. There'd be no use in trying to jump the shockwave. Because I wanted the shockwave to have that trail, but I didn't want to make it so that actually the player continued to hit, so I made the collision separate from the actual visual effects. That took me a little bit of work to actually figure it out. And that's pretty much everything there is when it comes to the black hole. And that is... Oops, I just exited my player. I need that up sometimes. Oh, wait. That is everything that comes to this level too, actually. It's this pretty simple level. You jump, you can either activate this here and ride the platform, try to jump from platform to platform as you're dodging the shockwave in the enemies. Or you can just use Q all the way, your dash, and try to dash from one side all the way over to the other side. Now this one's a little bit more difficult. This one is actually a little bit too just long, I think, to actually use the straight up, unless you're like level 10, level 15, or level 20 to have enough mana to dash from one end all the way to the other end. But you got to jump from here to here to here to here, and it's actually quite possible. I've never realized it was possible to do 4 of the wall runs in sequence here. So I'll go ahead and jump off that and let that hit there first off. We got to wait till it comes up to the very top. So you have the disc jump range, then you just jump from one to the next, and then you dash. Oh, I missed! I jumped off too fast. But yes, it is totally possible. Okay, so that's everything that comes to this level, except for the NPCs. So let's go talk about the NPCs a little. They're not too much to talk about. They're obviously, the texture on them is black like the portal. They have a little bit different programming from the other NPCs that the other NPCs, the elementals that I've been working with. They have two forms of attack, actually. So they have the trifecta, boom boom boom, that right there, the little meteor balls that you cast, little black hole balls that you cast, and then once they get their life down to a certain point, they'll cast the big sphere. So you don't want to let them to get down. They damage themselves as they cast. So I'll actually show you the blueprint on their casting. So let's go to AI. The elemental dark child. Here we go. And standard. Where's this at? Set as bool. What is this? What am I in right now? Okay, this is big black. Okay. So go to event graft. So if when it gets the event to cast its magic event, or basically attack, that's the event attack here, is bind to attack event. It'll do the cast AI. It'll check to make sure it's not already casting, because sometimes you can get in a loop where it's constantly casting and you can't actually cast or do anything because it's just kind of trying to cast over and over again, and it'll interrupt its own animations. And then it'll get a random integer from 1 to 20. If it's 1, then it can instantly cast its big gravity ball. And I'll show you the big gravity ball. Here it is. Also has the test to make sure it's not casting, because I also had a problem of it still getting through, because it inherits this one when it's down to. I'll just describe that a little bit later, instead of actually trying to show you right off the bat. So we go here. It'll set is attacking. This allows you, when you're using your blackboard, set still attacking, to dictate, yes, whether or not to go past its current settings. So attacking player, this is it. it always gets is if you're attacking, then it won't allow you to go through. And the moment that you stop attacking, I should have this as an is not so it can go through, but it's fine. It's used the way it is. So it'll go through here, and if it can't go through, it'll constantly send the signal to wait, and then it'll instantly, once it gets the attacking not set, then it'll clear its timer. That's what this timer, little here timer does, and it'll finish and execute. So yes. So basically, it starts off here. It's you receive the signal from your blackboard to attack. It'll send this attack message to the main AI that I have, which I'll show you that my elemental AI. And the elemental AI, where is that? I have a little bit of AI event begin play. No, here it is. Cast magic, and all it does is tell it to go cast this signal here. Junk. Like, why is not showing? Oh, whatever. It's called bind attack. It's there it is down here. Yep, event dispatch. Events dispatches this, and the elemental dark child here receives that. It binds it from the very beginning. Event graft. Event begin play. It'll bind the event attack to this up here, so it can receive that command. Okay, now back to its gravity ball. So yes, it'll tell it that it's attacking, so it cannot go past this point. It'll also tell it's casting, so it cannot constantly hit itself over and over again. Basically, multiple do once signals, because that with the complicated system I have set up, it could still override some of its own systems. Over and over it's done it. I had to really work on trying to make sure it cannot override, because this is a long animation. This is the 3.5 second animation, and what would happen is it received multiple signals and it would constantly interrupt it, which instantly tell it it's not casting and is not attacking, and it would just be annoying. So it then this does this animation montage, and once it's done, the notify checks to make sure it's not dead, because I've had instances where I kill the NPC and it still finishes its attack and sends off that big boom and it kills you. It's like, come on, I killed you. So make sure it's not that it's not dead, and then it spawns the big boom attack. And that attack is also the same, pretty much the same thing that the player can use, the big gravity ball. That attack, it's just it doesn't have quite as much gravity pull, because I was having a problem with it sending you flying out of the screen, and then they're like, oh no, I don't want it to send the player flying. I want to keep the player sucked in and kill them if they get hit with it. So they got to make sure they kill the enemy before they get down to 1 HP to cast this thing. It'll apply 30 damage to itself, instantly killing it, and then this pretty much the rest here is just the activating that, it waiting for it to be able to use it again. But since it's already dead, none of this actually matters. I should probably have actually removed that, and then I wouldn't have had all the casting problems. So let's go back here to event graft. So a 1 in 20 chance, it has a 1 in 20 chance of casting that, which is basically a very, very little chance of it actually doing it. But mini ball grab here, it sends out these 3 little ones. Now this one's a little bit different. It checked if its health is above 2. If it's not above 2, then it will automatically send out the signal to go from here into the big cast. And so if it only has 1 HP, it'll instantly always try to cast its big gravity ball. And then once again, it has the set is attacking and is casting sets. And then it'll play the montage. It actually plays 3 different montages during this segment. And it does not have any interrupts. You cannot stop this attack, and I did that for multiple reasons. Basically, because I wanted to be able to cast real fast 3 times, and it does have a small little jiggle animation while it does it. And I didn't want the player. I wanted originally the player to be able to interrupt the attack. However, when the player interrupted the attack, it would cause just annoyance, just too much to try to fix. It just didn't work. It just caused a lot of problems. So now the NPC can always cast its 3 little things at the same time, boom, 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 which worked out. So once this is the first montage goes begin notify. It'll send this out, and it will damage itself down here. The sequence here, down the bottom sequence, it'll come down here. It'll go, if I don't need this anymore. If it has more than 1 HP, more than 2 HP, it'll damage itself by 1 HP. So basically, every time it's casting, it's damaged itself because it is an elemental. It doesn't have mana. It's actually using its own life force to cast magic. That's all my elements do that. Okay. So we come over, where are we back? Okay, after it casts the first ball, it'll go instant into the second mana montage, and it'll do the same thing, sequence. It'll damage itself once, and it'll spawn another magic ball, so boom, boom, and it'll do it again. It does it 3 times, boom, boom, and so it gets all 3 of the magic cast, and then it sets itself as not casting, so it can do it again. And that is the elemental Dark Child. It's not too complicated. It's just a little bit of rigmarole with the blackboard and NPC AI stuff. And the AI itself, you've seen what it looks like. It's basically a black entity with a weird shape. Each one of my AIs have a little bit different shape. Now, there will be an actual boss fight when you get to level 13. So let's see, that should have spawned it. Oh, it spawned it all the way over there. Here, this one's closer. Okay, so we can look at him closely enough. Yeah, and so the thing about this is you can always stand right beside the enemy, and they usually end up hitting themselves. But the problem is they're usually flying out here. Okay, yep, that's pretty much everything. It looks really cool, I think. Worked some decent amount of time on getting that just right. And while it's casting magic, it has those little blue things up by its side. And I just died. Okay. That is pretty much everything there is for level 11. Except for I'm going to now begin to work on a cutscene over here. It'll be a cutscene between FaZe and Gideon, who I am saying is her dad in this thing. But you'll have to play the game to see that cutscene. And after the cutscene, you will unlock a new ability, which is basically flip gravity. So here, I need to open up my player, my blueprints, my assets. I have my player. Here we are. I accidentally closed that earlier. Let's go ahead and unlock so you can see what flip gravity is. I'm going to just do it right here. Well, actually, here's flip gravity. It's really easy. Flip gravity. If gravity is unlocked, it'll cost, and if you have over 50 mana, it'll set is casting. It'll magic cast cost 50 mana. It'll jump, and it'll set gravity scale to -1.5. So it flips gravity, and it'll play the montage, which is an upside down flip. It'll delay for 1 second. It'll set gravity scale back to its default. Wait, that's not default. Is it default? What's my current gravity scale? You can always check these things. You can sometimes get messed up. No, it's I don't think it's actually in player character. Yeah, it is. Gravity scale 1.5. Yep, okay, that's right. Okay. Is casting. It'll also, and then I'll turn off is casting. And that's probably should have. Okay, no, this one already does. Yeah, this one already does. Has the mana regen in it, so I don't have to put a mana regen at the very end. Okay, so let's go ahead and unlock it, and I'll show you it real quick. We're already going on 33 minutes here, so I gotta find my NPC. Oh yeah, that's right. So I've changed its location over here. Set unlock. This is my dev command. Allows me to dev test everything. Unlock my variables. Gravity flip unlocked. Set. See, I don't usually put them into dev commands until I've actually got to the point where you will unlock them. Because I don't want to, when I use my dev commands, I don't want to have abilities that I won't have. Except for the teleport when I'm testing. And the teleport's there just so I can have a little bit easier time. So I'll just go ahead and jump down here. And flip. Oh, wait, what's going on? Oh, I didn't unlock there. Gravity flip. Woohoo! Now the particle effect on that may change. But basically, it'll allow you to almost skip if you do it twice, well, I don't have enough mana to do it twice, but it'll enable you to literally jump from one level to the other level without using the jump pad. Which really makes things a lot easier. Oh, I'm headed the wrong direction here. That's over there, the jump pad. I was going to go running all the way over to the jump pad to show you how you can use it to skip an entire level. So you don't need to use this. Don't need to use the your grappling hook anymore. You don't need to use the dash anymore. You just gravity flip. Yep. Woo! And skip an entire dang level. Yes, it's very, very powerful. It's a little bit overpowered, but since it's pretty close to the last level, the next level you'll actually be unlocking the teleport, and then the final level you'll be unlocking the ability to fly. So it's pretty much there. Yep. Anyway, that's the end of this dev blog. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, likes, shares, and comments are always welcome. LordMaddog signing off.